Welcome to the Unapologetic Man Podcast, the only podcast that's all about self-improvement, confidence, success, women, and being a man without making any apologies for it.
What is up, gentlemen? Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the UMP. I really do appreciate you. Man, I just listened to that episode I dropped about 2 weeks ago called 5 Unattractive Traits of Guys Who Don't Get Girls, or it was more like 5 frustrating traits that I always notice of guys who don't get girls. God, that episode was good, man. It got me super pumped up. I was like, yo, I think I'm maybe being a pussy too. I got to flex up, really get some shit done, and it inspired me to actually record this podcast. I was like, you idiot, get back on that fucking microphone, slap some podcasts into the bucket, get them stacked up, because you don't know what's going to happen, man. You don't know what's going to happen. So I'm always at least 2 to 3 podcasts ahead. So I record this obviously a few weeks in advance, but dude, that thing got me pumped. If you haven't heard it, definitely listen to it, because I think you too will find value in it. Gentlemen, the reviews have been a little bit slacking lately. They've been good, but they've been just a bit slacking. So I want to encourage you to please leave me a review. Whatever podcast app you happen to be listening to this on, I'd very much appreciate a review. I get emails all the time of dudes saying, hey man, what can I do for you? I really want to help you out. You've given me so much value. The best thing you can do for me is just please click that 5 stars. And if you could be so kind as to leave some writing behind it, specifically on iTunes. I think I'm at about 930 to 940 reviews on iTunes, which is pretty significant. If you really lay down to think about it, that's a shit ton of guys to leave me a review. And I do salute and appreciate all of you to take the time to do that for me. But if you could, it really helps me out. And my purpose, of course, is to grow this thing. I want more and more people to discover this podcast, because I think I have a really good message, not only about attracting women, but also about self-development, being the best man you can be, getting more confident, accepting yourself, and developing into the next best version of yourself. So if you could do that for me, email me at CoachMarkSing@gmail.com. I will get your name tattooed on my butt, which, by the way, is one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. Ancient world, you ask? Yes, its beauty is timeless. So if you could please leave me that review, email me. I will slap you a bunch of programs. Right now, I'm giving away the Conversation Sniper, Guide to the Female Orgasm, and 3 texts to build massive attraction in women. Once again, CoachMarkSing@gmail.com. I'd very much appreciate that. All right, so today, gentlemen, we are going to talk about what to do when a woman rejects your physical advances. Okay, and obviously that means you trying to kiss her, you trying to make out with her, pop her bra off, launch her panties across the room to land on the lampshade, to basically get to that next step of your physical advances. All right, so first and foremost, we need to set the precedence for how not to get rejected. I got to a point, gentlemen, and I'm saying this quite humbly, where 90% of the time I would not be rejected with my physical advances, is because I would build up so much attraction. I would use so much techniques that I would get a blaring green light to take her to the next step. And that's ultimately what we want to do. We never want to force physical escalations onto a woman. What we want to do is get her so turned on, get her so attracted that she's almost begging you to take it to the next step. Okay, and this starts all the way from the first kiss. I want to get her so attracted to me. I want to get her so invested in the conversation. I want to get her so turned on that she's just like green lighting the shit out of me. And even then, I'm making her wait a little bit until she's either non-verbally begging or even verbally begging for me to kiss her. That's what the fuck I'm talking about. Now, obviously, this is a short podcast. I don't have time to go into some of my first kiss techniques, but after you listen to those 5 frustrating traits of guys who don't get women, search for my name and first kiss technique. I have done a podcast about it. Okay, so I'll build up that tension. I'll get that sexual chemistry going to the point where she just needs me to kiss her. And that, by the way, is how you get girls to do that breathless thing where they go, ha, 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 after you kiss them, right? Is to just build that shit up. And with women too, I want to say a little side note here. When it comes to women, it's all about the anticipation. It's all about the buildup. If you guys are worried about being bad at sex, being bad at kissing, being bad at licking a boobie, okay, what you want to do is build that shit up where she's anticipating it. so that when your tongue hits the areola, or better yet, when your tongue slowly licks her clit, after all that build-up tension, after all that waiting that you have patiently made both yourself and her do, she's going to absolutely explode into orgasm because of the anticipation. So to preface this, I don't even want you guys to be rejected. And if you are rejected on a physical advance, it's kind of a bad thing, brother. And I want you to go home and kind of analyze what you did wrong and say, yo, I went in too quickly. I misread the situation and that was my bad. I'm going to do better next time. So with each physical advance, I want her to green light the shit out of you. And that is actually one of the core tenets of what I teach when it comes to women. She is the barometer, which means she is the light signal, the traffic light signal to give you either a green, yellow, or red light when it comes to all your physical advances. She's also the barometer when it comes to relationship advances. And what I mean by that is when she wants it, then you execute. So it's not your job to push her into wanting it. You have to look at women as a flower. They have to open up naturally. You ever see that movie, Three Amigos? The one bandito is like, when you want the food, you take the food. When you want the alcohol, you take the alcohol. When you want the woman, you take the woman. And then the other guy's like, Jefe, that's not right. A woman is like a flower. You have to let it open naturally. Now, I know I completely botched that, like that was not even accurate in any respect whatsoever. But with all due respect to you, I'm not going to go fucking YouTube that part and try to figure out the exact lines, but that's generally how it went. A woman has to open up naturally like a flower does. And the way to do that is with attraction. Attraction is always the key. Okay, so you're dumping attraction. She's green lighting the shit out of you. You kiss her. You guys are now making out. She's like telling you how to take off her bra. Okay, you're sucking the tits, you're doing all that good stuff. Then she's like grabbing at your dick. Okay, that's a pretty green light for you to take out the red helmeted warrior. She's talking about how wet she is, how turned on she is. Pretty decent green light to take off the panties. All right, so again, boys, I really want you to hold back, control yourself. Tell that red helmeted warrior in your underwear who looks like the goddamn Statue of Liberty to stand down, Sergeant Horny. We will unveil you when the time is right. When she's ready to take that shit out, she's gonna fucking grab it, bro. So don't go with the slogan, when in doubt, whip it out. No. I want you to be 100% sure. Now that goes into another side point. If you don't execute when she's really ready, that can oftentimes show cowardice. So it's a balance, boys. As all things are with women, you need to know when to execute and know when to hold back, but always build the attraction, build up the sexual tension, get her so turned on that her pussy lips are literally ripping her own underwear off her body. That's the way I want you to be. Now, to get into the reason you clicked on this in the first place, well, what if I make a mistake? Okay, so there's two different options, both of which I like to use regularly if and when, under the rare circumstance, this does happen to me. Okay, when it comes to kissing, and this is usually where you guys are going to make the mistake, you want to actually point out the elephant in the room that you tried to go for the kiss, she denied you, and I want you to literally say something. I don't want you to just be quiet and like just try to change the subject. Point out the elephant in the room, bro, because like an elephant in a room, it's so obvious. You tried to kiss her, she turned away. You were miscalibrated, man. It's not her fault, so don't blame her. She turned away, and I know, guys, believe me, I know. Sometimes they give you green lights, sometimes they give mixed signals. Like, chicks are very difficult to read, and that's why I have fucking over 400 podcast episodes, is because this is a very deep, nebulous, multi-layered topic, women. But if you misread it, and you go in and she rejects you, I want you to call it out and almost laugh at yourself. And a simple thing to say is, whoa, I guess I mistimed that one. Okay? That's the way you do it, to let her know that you can kind of laugh at yourself. The situation was awkward, and it gets rid of the awkwardness immediately because she's going to laugh. Or she's going to be like, yeah, I'm just not ready yet. I just don't feel it. And you'd be like, you know what? I totally understand. That was my miscalibration. I thought I was getting some signals and I obviously misread it. So listen, no hard feelings, but I have to let you know that it's no big deal. Okay, so really, guys, you're not reactive. You're not butthurt. You're not mad at yourself about it. You just kind of laugh about it. And you could even, in a way, it's a very subtle way, kind of blame her, right? And it's not blaming her completely, but it's like shared responsibility, especially if she's greenlighting the shit out of you. Guys, I have had a girl in my bed and it was my miscalibration because I hadn't made out with her yet. Check this out. True fucking story. I've had a girl in my bed who like verbally kind of agreed we wanted to have sex. I went to kiss her and she turned away. Now, why the fuck would that happen, right? I was like, what the living fuck? And this was like in my 20s when I was just starting to get good at this stuff. But through that, I realized that you need to obviously touch her hand first, kiss her first before she jumps in your bed. We were young. We were attracted to each other. We wanted a bone. But the thing was this is while she wanted to have sex with me, at that very moment, she wasn't turned on enough to begin doing so. So what I miscalibrated was, well, dude, she agreed to come into my bed and like have sex. I mean, this was literally like a verbal agreement. We talked about it. But what I failed to do was build up the attraction, build up the sexual tension so that when I went in, she turned away. And me, in my inexperience, I was like, oh, I didn't know what to do, right? Like, what do you do? So I just made it super awkward. I didn't even acknowledge that it happened. And yes, eventually we ended up having sex, but dude, it was an awkward ass night. I did everything wrong and it was mostly my fault. But going to my previous point, if she's in your bed, right? And like she's agreed to have sex, then you could be like, well, you know, I'm kind of confused why you would turn away when here we are in my bed. Now, in a way, it's her responsibility, but in a bigger way, it isn't. Because it's our job as the man to ramp up that attraction so that the flower opens naturally. It's our job to open the flower and she doesn't want to just force it open. Have you guys ever had a girlfriend where the sex got boring and you got impatient and she just had to like have sex immediately without you doing any foreplay? She starts to resent you because of that. You just use lube instead of, you know, licking her tits, complimenting her, getting her super turned on and taking her into that experience. You just spray some lube on your dick and fuck this girl who wasn't even wet. And then she begins to resent you. The sex is not good. And for many of you gentlemen, including me in my younger years, we get left by chicks like this. So again, boys, it's all about ramping up the attraction. When the rejection happens, call it out, laugh at it. And you could even laugh as you say it, be like, well, looks like I misread that one as you're smiling. And she's going to be like, yeah, I'm sorry. And she'll tell you. She'll tell you something along the lines of she just wasn't ready. The vibe wasn't there. She just wasn't feeling it. And it's her right to do that. So that's the first method is call attention to it. Okay. The second method is what's called the freeze out. Now, this is from the mystery method, which many of you guys may have heard of. Mystery was kind of the OG of the pickup space. He, in my opinion, created a lot of this stuff, including frame control. And to him, man, I salute that dude. Love that dude. Studied that dude. He is an absolute legend. Absolute legend. So he created this thing called the freeze out. Now, I don't really love to do this, but I have done it successfully in the past, so I'm going to share it with you. But again, boys, like literally 95% of the time now in my older years, I don't get rejected at all. In fact, these chicks are trying to like jump onto my penis, which actually happened to a client of mine recently. Mark, what is up? He's like, bro, we were just getting at it in my bedroom and the girl just like jumped onto my dick and I didn't even have a condom on. So I just like had sex with her and I pulled out and I was like, Mark, you can't let the horse out of the stable without a saddle. Put a condom on that thing every single time you're going to have sex with a new chick. And he's like, yeah, man, I messed up. But hey, that's how turned on he got her. So let's look at the positive. They were in the bed, they were going at it, and she just jumps on. And girls will say like, do you have a condom? Or I want to have sex, like put it in me. Like, please put it in me now. That's how much I want you to get him turned on. So there's no question to it. But for you guys who are a little forceful, and guys, I do not agree with being forceful. In fact, sex is going to happen so much faster when you're the one to say like, nah, let's wait, right? Like I'll make out with a girl on the first date. Almost always. If I like her, I'm going to make out with her and then I'm going to send her home right when it's really starting to get turned up. And I'm going to cut it off before she can every single time. And I'm going to leave her wanting more. Not only because I understand these topics, but also because I know when you kind of push it away, they're going to throw it at you. Right? I want you to think about it as one of those wind-up cars where you pull it backwards and then it shoots forward. That is female psychology 101. Okay, so you try to physically escalate. Usually this happens with sex and she says no. So what you do is you kind of pull back and you say, hey, that's okay. Let's go get some water. okay? Or you grab your cell phone and you start scrolling through it. What you do is you freeze her out, which is kind of ignore her, give her a little bit less. And then as time goes on, you kind of ramp it up again, start making out again, start getting the tits out, and then start trying to get into that next level with attraction. If she does it again, you kind of turn cold again, you turn away from her, you freeze her out, and then you go back into it. But I just don't like this, man. Even as I'm sitting here speaking about it, I just wouldn't do that. I simply wouldn't. So listen, you can take the advice that I'm giving you that came from a third-party pickup artist, or you can do as I do. If you try to physically escalate, first of all, it's your fault. Okay. Second of all, she's not ready yet. So just let it go for that night. Be like, hey, listen, I totally respect that you're not ready. I don't want to force you to do anything you're not comfortable doing. So come on, let's go watch a movie. Now, just by doing that, by you fully accepting and not trying to use some manipulative skill set that you've learned, you guys may be watching that movie and then it goes down, right? You guys start making out. So like, I guess what I'd say is I prefer the real freeze out, which is she's not ready. Let's back off and do something else. If it happens that we start making out again, the penis comes out, the vagina tosses off her own panties, then yeah, we can go ahead and move forward with sex. But I don't like to be pushy. I am not pushy at all. In fact, she needs to be a little bit pushy. And they do, boys. They get so turned on. And every single one of you guys listening, most of you guys listening, I should say, have experienced this, where a chick is just like not able to think rationally anymore because she's so horny. And I want you to think about you too, man. Like you've been driving home before, so fucking horny, so needing to masturbate that you'd fuck a snake if you could hold it straight. You'd have sex with the fat girl's sweaty armpit after 20 minutes on the Stairmaster, and it's got all that white creamy shit around it. You'd fuck that thing because you were so horny. So there you go, driving home, and you're like, man, I got to get home to masturbate, dude. I got to get home. And you can't even think straight. You're running red lights. You're blowing stop signs. You're doing Brodies when the fucking light turns green. You get home and you're like, and you get it done. It's the same thing with women. When we're super horny, the rationalization of any preconceived notions or preconceived rules that she set in place go right out the fucking window. Right out the window, just as it is with you. Like you're trying to pull up that video on Pornhub. You got your Pornhub frequent masturbator platinum card, but you can't remember the name of that video that you jerked off to last time that was so good. And you're like, bro, I'm so horny. I'm just going to click on this one. And then you get it done. And you're like, man, when baby batter is on the brain, we do not think straight. But I want you guys to have discipline, as I recently also spoke about in a really good podcast, and control yourself, man. Control yourself. I know you want to have sex, but if you just control it and focus instead on attraction, you're not going to get rejected. You're not going to get that pushback. You're not going to have to do freeze outs or try to kiss her or physically escalate in a different way and be like, whoops, my mistake, misread the situation. Instead, it's going to continue to go smoothly. I just don't get it. Like I get clients all the time who are like, man, I tried to push for this. I tried to get into her apartment. I tried to get her panties off and it went bad. And I'm like, that's because you're trying to do it. That's because you're trying to force it. You can't force open the petals of a flower. It has to open naturally. I so agree with that line in that brilliant movie, Three Amigos from the 80s. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It's pretty damn funny. But more importantly, go check out my podcast if you haven't yet. 5 frustrating traits I notice in guys who don't get girls. And then if you want more about how to build sexual tension in the first kiss so you don't get rejected, check out any podcast I've done about kissing or physically escalating. It's all about the anticipation. But when she rejects your advances, point out the elephant in the room, laugh at yourself, and let her feel okay for rejecting your advances. If you do that once, man, I'm telling you, she's going to greenlight the shit out of you on the next one, and it's probably not going to happen again. And sometimes it's even a test. Sometimes it's even, she just didn't feel you at that moment, but she was feeling you 3 moments before, where between moment A and moment B, you did something mildly unattractive. Her attractiveness for you went down just a little bit. You were miscalibrated. You shot in at the wrong time. Then by you saying, whoa, misjudged that one. That was a little awkward, right? And she laughs too. Bam, you're back up to the initial attraction. So again, guys, this takes experience. Women are certainly enigmas, but I'm telling you, if you can get enough attraction, they won't be. They're going to greenlight the shit out of you. So remember, women are always your barometer for your next physical escalation. Focus on attraction, focus on sexual tension, focus on making out with her so well, turning her on so much, like licking her clit so perfectly. She's just going to jump onto your dick the way that girl did to my client, Mark M. Gentlemen, I do appreciate you listening. Once again, man, if you find value in my podcast, I very much appreciate a review. Email me at CoachMarkSing@gmail.com and I will send you a bunch of cool shit, including Conversation Sniper, Guide to the Female Orgasm, and 3 texts to build massive attraction in women. Impress your friends, baffle your enemies. I drop podcasts on Mondays and Thursdays, and I will see you in the next episode.